Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Happy Practice Podcast. I am your host, Adam, and today I am joined by Dr. Jeff Ellis, all the way from New York. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's amazing to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about efficiency and operations in the practice, but before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. I'm a board-certified dermatologist outside of New York, and we have a group practice. We do general dermatology, we do surgical dermatology, we specialize in skin cancer. We also have oculoplastics in-house, which makes us stand out from some other practices, being able to do all those together. And I love technology. I love embracing technology in the practice. And I'm super excited to be here with you.
Awesome. Well, let's start from the beginning. Walk us through your journey on how you became a doctor, how you got into medicine.
Absolutely. So both my grandparents were dentists, and I spent a lot of time with them. They really played a big role in my upbringing. And they had a home and office, very, very humble setup. It's really just them. You know, a patient would come, they'd open the door, an automatic doorbell would ring, they'd come out of the kitchen, they'd greet the patient, they'd bring him into the room, they would do everything. The patient would leave. They had no receptionist, no dental hygienist, no biller. It was just them. And they were watching me at the same time. So sometimes I would kind of wander into the office and see what they were doing. And I'd even jump up on some of their patients' laps while they were having their dental work done and kind of look in and see what's going on. And it really got me just interested in caring for patients.
Yeah.
And I just loved the simplicity and the one-on-one nature of what they had. And so I started out wanting to do that. Like, it just seemed amazing. Then in high school, I ended up working for my aunt, their daughter, who's a family practice doctor. I worked in her office. And I really kind of saw how if I went into medical school, maybe there'd be some more options for me after medical school. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I thought it just might give more options. And that was my plan. So I applied to a medical school actually from high school. I was lucky enough to get into a combined BA/MD program. And at that time, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And it was through my experiences in medical school that turned me on to dermatology. And it was kind of my experiences earlier in life, you know, watching my grandparents and helping my aunt in her practice that really made me want to have my own private practice.
Love that. So yeah, with that, walk us through your journey into private practice.
Yeah, so, you know, I was lucky enough that one of the students that was with me, Dr. Sleer, we went to medical school together. Mm-hmm. We ended up doing our residency together. We did our chief residency together. And especially in our chief residency year, we really solidified that we could work very well together in terms of problem solving and kind of improving the work environment that we were given. And I really wanted to open a practice with her. And she wasn't so sure about it, and it's scary. But she agreed, and we did it very part-time. So we kind of started this part-time practice where I was there a few days of the week, and she was there a few days of the week. And for the rest of the time, we had real jobs. You know, I worked for a major hospital in the area. I worked for other private offices in the area. She did the same. So we kind of had jobs that were giving us a little bit of money, and then we had this experiment, you know, just to see if it's something that we could do, and if we liked it, if it was the right thing for us.
So how long have you owned the practice for?
We started in 2006.
2006.
Yeah. So as soon as I finished my fellowship, we started right away.
And how has the practice developed over the years?
It's totally different from where we started. You know, we started this practice from scratch. We opened the doors and we had nothing. We had no patients. We had nothing. Yeah. And we wanted to keep everything very, very simple. So we actually shared space, actually back with my aunt, who's the family practice doctor. So when she wasn't working, we would come into her office. And we needed a very, very small footprint because she didn't really have room for us.
Yeah.
So our entire office was 3 laptop computers and one little Staples rolling cart with all of our supplies. So when we weren't there, we would just fold up to that one cart. And a really busy day in the beginning was seeing 2 or 3 people. That was a big deal. And we did everything. Anything in that office that had to be done, we did ourselves. We answered the phones, we submitted the claims. We really wanted to touch every part of it so that we could learn how the entire practice works, so that as we grew, we would kind of be able to be the lead on all aspects of the practice.
So with that, you've built this practice. You have an entire team. Remind me, how large is your team?
We have over 30 staff right now.
Over 30 staff and a lot of patients coming through.
Yep.
So when you look at creating a really efficient practice, I know that doesn't sound like the most exciting thing for people, and they don't want their practice to become robotic. What is your approach to making your practice super efficient, and how does that play into a great patient experience?
Absolutely. Something that I think about a lot. And when I think about efficiency, I don't really think about it in the context of shaving seconds off everything we do. I really think about how to remove friction from different aspects of our practice. How can I make it easier for my staff? How can I make it easier for my patients? How can we have consistent, clear communication, both within our teams and with our patients? And it really just all comes down to communication. The better the communication, the smoother the experience will be for everyone, and that translates to efficiency, and it translates to having more meaningful time with our patients, with our one-on-one encounters with them.
Yeah. What are some common roadblocks that people run into? That maybe you ran into, or you see your colleagues running into, to having a really efficient, highly performing, well-operating practice?
So getting back to when we started, we were starting very basic, kind of like the least expensive tools that would get the job done, because we didn't really even know if it was a go or not. So we didn't want to invest all of this and then shut it all down.
Yeah.
And those tools were okay, but they didn't really do everything we needed. So we'd find something that was missing, and we would add it on. And then a little later, we'd find something else that was missing, and we'd add something else on. And we kept building and building and building with all these different pieces. And eventually, there were like 20 different pieces. And it was really hard because you had to look all over the place. Everything wasn't consolidated in one place. Onboarding new staff was very, very challenging. Looking back, I'm amazed that we were even able to successfully onboard staff, because there were just too many systems, each one doing one small piece of a puzzle, and it was a lot. It was easy to miss things. Sometimes if it was too much effort to get into one system, the staff just wouldn't. So just kind of, as we grew, kind of bringing everything together, consolidating it, having less places to look, having each system check more boxes for us. It's really been a very successful way for us to kind of bring things together and be more efficient and consistent with everything we're doing.
Well, and that was my next question, is what are some approaches that you've done to help out with your practice? I mean, I know that you looked at late arrivals, and I remember you talking about how a late arrival would kind of delay the rest of the schedule and kind of throw a wrench in things, right?
Absolutely.
What did you do to help with that process?
Absolutely. So that actually came from patient feedback, and patient feedback's always been really important to us. Sometimes as a provider or even the front desk staff, we don't really know what the patient is thinking about, what they're experiencing. So when they share that, we take it pretty seriously.
Yeah.
And the feedback we were getting a few years back is they really loved the office, they loved us, they loved the staff, but they didn't like the wait. And the wait was sometimes, 45 minutes, an hour. And from their perspective, the assumption is that we were overbooking. And we were trying to see as many patients as we could, and that's why they had to wait. But that was actually never true. We were never overbooking. And we didn't really understand why there was a wait. So this was at the time when we were adding on all of these individual pieces to try to help answer questions. So for this question, I actually programmed my own piece of software to really see what's happening to a patient from the time they walk in the door to the time they leave, and to understand, like, why are some people waiting? And the answer was not that we were overbooking. The answer is that we had a lot of patients arriving early, and we had a lot of patients arriving late, and we had some patients who consistently took more time than we would have thought, like for whatever they were coming in for. And my staff was ignoring all of that. We were kind of taking the approach of first come, first serve. Whoever checked into the office first, they're going to be seen next. And that means that if someone came really early, and then someone came really late, and then someone came on time, the person who came on time might wait for the person who came early and the person who came late before they're seen. So their perspective is, I came on time, but I wasn't seen on time. So once we started to kind of look at these different subtle variables and kind of retune how we were approaching some of these subtleties, we dramatically improved the wait time. We also kind of focused on our communication with patients as they came early or as they came late to kind of set their expectations. A lot of offices will just like not see a patient who comes late. That's really not our culture. We want to see everyone who comes. But if someone comes late, we now tell them, you came a little late, and I just want to let you know that the wait time might be longer than normal because of that. And patients tend to be appreciative of that. If that doesn't work for them, then right up front they could reschedule, so they're not waiting a long time and then having to leave. That's extra frustrating for them. And being able to focus on that dramatically changed that issue with our patients and our overall patient feedback. It was very successful focusing on those things for us.
Well, walk me through through the results. What did that mean for your production? What did that mean for the staff happiness? What did that mean for the patient experience?
Absolutely, all around wins. First off, being at the front desk, it's a hard job, no matter what. And when you have people who are consistently frustrated and angry, and you're putting out fires right and left, it's exhausting. So giving them the tools to kind of identify what was going on and kind of dealing with these issues up front before there's an issue. Someone comes in late, right away we tell them what our expectation is and why. Tremendously helpful. In terms of the overall office, when this started, we kind of had, like, let's say looking at Google reviews, it's not the end all and be all, but it is, it is something, right?
Yeah.
We kind of had like iffy reviews, like maybe we had like not too many, maybe 20, 30 reviews, some positive, some negative. After making that change, as well as some other changes, a lot of it through Weave to help improve our communication and our expectations, to share our expectations with patients both before visits and after visits. We now have well over 1,500 reviews, almost 5-star.
Wow.
One of the best in the community. And I think it really all comes down to kind of clear, consistent communication, setting expectations, enabling patients to communicate with us easily so that they don't feel frustrated. No one wants to call an office and be put on hold, transferred all around. So all of these things have made a huge difference for us. And then, of course, once you gain that kind of public reputation, if you would, for like Google reviews, that just does wonders for helping to grow the business, because other people in the community see that. They want to be part of that. Interestingly, it's also helped with our staff recruitment. Just when hiring front desk staff or anyone in the office, providers, they also want to be part of that. Everyone wants to be part of a business that's a positive place to work, that's a welcoming place, that is giving patients a really high level of care.
Love that. So how do you balance having a really efficient practice without losing that personal touch? And how do you make sure that that happens at scale, because you have a larger team?
That's a great question. So I think the key there is to be very thoughtful about what you can automate. And you kind of want to automate the right things, so this way you can have the time to have the human interactions and that human touch whenever possible. So, and that's something that I wasn't able to do alone. I really had to brainstorm with my whole team to think about what are the types of things we're doing repetitively, what would be helpful for patients. One of the things that I think is super powerful about what we're doing now is in our practice management system, patients are scheduled for different types of appointments. Maybe someone is having a surgery, maybe someone is having a procedure, maybe someone's just having a checkup. And we're able to send automated communication both before the visit and after the visit that is unique to the reason why they came. So it's not just a general, it's not a general reminder or a general follow-up. It's specific to why they came. And that's very powerful because some procedures, let's say, require different preparation before the visit at different times. Maybe a week before a visit, you have to do something special, and 2 days before the visit, you have to do something special. Or after a procedure, maybe there's certain post-operative care that might even change with time. We can now send patients messaging at those times to either prepare them for the visit or to remind them about what we want them to do, which takes the burden off my staff from doing that.
Yeah.
We could kind of trust that that's happening because if, anytime a human's doing it, maybe someone called in sick that day and the person that's supposed to do it doesn't do it, or, many things can happen. But it's also consistently the same message, written exactly how we want it to be written, clearly, consistently. It really gives an amazing patient experience. They feel really cared for, that we're following up with them, that our messaging is relevant and timely. But it also frees up my staff. Because when my staff can engage with a patient and laugh with them and make them feel heard and make them feel welcome and know them by name, it's priceless. And you just don't have the time to do that if you're doing everything manually.
What would be your advice to practices that are looking to optimize? They really want to have that high-performing practice. Where should they start?
Yeah, so, I was lucky in the sense because when we started, I was working in many different places. And my partner also was working in many different places. And we saw a lot of things that we thought other offices did well, and we saw things that we thought each different practice could do better. So we tried to take the best of what we saw and combine it. And the first thing you have to do is you actually just have to write that down with pen and paper. And you have to just write down a flow of everything that you think should be happening and how it should be happening and when it should be happening. And after you do that, you have to share it with your team. Because ultimately, you're not the one doing that all. And you can't make a plan from the top down because it's your staff who's going to be executing this. So you kind of come up with a framework of where you think it should be, share it with your team, and get as much feedback as you can and make adjustments. One of the most successful things for us, and I think the most rewarding things for my team, is we have frequent meetings with them, we take their feedback, and we're able to implement it relatively quickly. That really makes my team engaged. They see that, they had an idea of how to do something better. Within a few days, we might be executing on that. If we all agree that this is a way to do it better, it's very powerful for not only improving the office and the patient experience, but the staff morale and the commitment that our staff feel to working with us.
It's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I know that I learned a ton, and congratulations on everything you've built with the practice, too. I mean, it's really, really remarkable. And having visited the place, too, you just see the smiles on the patient's face, you see the smiles on the staff's face, and that's usually very good evidence of great leadership. So congratulations.
I really appreciate that. It's been a pleasure being here. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show. Thank you all for joining us, and until next time, stay happy. Take care.